Hello, everyone. You're watching All About the W, your weekly deep dive into the WSL, stat stories, and standout performances. Let's break it all down. My name is Kai, and as always, I'm joined by my co host Ash. Ash and I are finally here. It's been a while, but we're here to do a WSL match day review. We're here to do the review for the match day that happened previous weekend, which is match day 18. Before we dive into it, a reminder to all of you out there, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe, like the video, spread the word, do all those wonderful things, because all of that stuff helps us with the algorithm. All right, Ash, let's dive into all about the match day. um,
Just before we dive in really quickly, we also now have memberships, and I would like to thank Nitya for being our first member. Uh, Nitya's been there from the start, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, Nitya, for being the. It always had to be Nitya as the first member, so
Yeah.
uh,
Some of
thank
you
you so
may be
much
familiar with
for.
Nitya, who used to appear on the channel. At least in the last season, she is the Arsenal fan. Probably are the only Arsenal fan who listens to this channel. I'm not really sure. But yeah, memberships are open. Super Chat is up. When we do go live, we will be going live for the Champions League quarterfinal match. Definitely the Arsenal versus Chelsea match. Not really sure about the Manchester United match, but we'll keep you posted on that. So Super Chat is open. You can also thank us if you like the videos as well. So all of those wonderful things will help us with the channel and the work that we do. Okay, Ash, let's maybe get started with. Let's get it out of the way. Let's start with Manchester City versus Tottenham Hotspur, which finished 5-2. Bunny Shaw hat trick, and Carolyn and a Neilton own goal for Man City, and Olivia Holt scoring for Spurs along with Beth England. So those were the goal scorers. Ash, what did you make of this game? A little different from the drubbings that we've seen in the past, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like on the surface, if you look at the scoreline, you think, oh, classic Spurs, biannual humiliation from Manchester City. Like it is a drubbing. 5-2 looks like a serious drubbing. By the half time, when it was a 5-1 scoreline, it looked like a massive drubbing. It looked like they would score 8 or 9 or whatever.
Yeah.
And and yeah, it looks like that if you just look at it on paper, but if you were to actually watch this game, hot take, I feel like it was the most competitive Spurs versus City game that I remember seeing, including the FA Cup game, by the way.
Hmm.
Because we were playing them par for par. It wasn't like we were just defending and they were playing, and then we were hoping for a miracle goal on transition. It wasn't like that. It was like a proper battle in the midfield. Offensively, not much defensively, because that we don't know how to do that.
Hmm.
But like I just want to like show you some stats to like make it clear what I'm saying. Like the difference between Spurs and City was that City have Bunny Shaw and Miedema and can be clinical, and Spurs, like Gopset and Winberg, etc. They, like, I love them, and they're amazing. I thought Gobset was absolutely fantastic in this game, but they're still learning to like convert these half chances into chances.
Yeah.
So they might shoot, but they might not be clinical, unlike Bunny Shaw. So I think that makes a huge difference. But if you look at the like total shots, for example, Spurs had 19 to City's 14. Um, and shots on target, Spurs had 7 to City's 5. Um, Big chances created, Spurs had 4 to City's 5. Big chances missed, both teams had the same number of big chances missed. So corners, Spurs had 5 to City's 5. So if you like just expected goals, Spurs was 2.63 and City was 2.5.
Right.
Uh, like XG open play, Spurs was 1.77, City was 1.8. Like in every way, I feel like Spurs and City were going for it like par for par.
Yeah.
Yes, City dominated possession and to some extent the midfield. Like, I'm not saying City didn't deserve to win or anything. City were obviously the better team, but I do think that this was the most competitive I've ever seen Spurs against City.
Yeah.
Also, uh, if City fans are watching, that first goal by Vanisha was definitely offside. Sorry, Lino deserves like and was so clearly offside. I feel like the Lino like deserves to like have their eyes checked or something. Anyway, but and like it's not the first, like it wasn't just the City ones. Like there was this one time I think Beth England was offside on a run and the Lino didn't raise the flag that time also. It didn't result in anything.
Hmm.
But like if it had been a goal, then the City fans would also been crying.
Yeah, yeah.
Like so the Lino needs to do better. And the fourth City goal, which was an own goal, I think,
Hmm.
uh, there was a handball from Miduma in the build-up. But that's okay, fine, debatable whether
Hmm.
handball, not
Yeah.
handball, all these things. So I'm gonna be like, okay, okay, yeah, City scored those goals they were given. Referee gives them. That's the rules of the game.
Hmm.
Uh, but I genuinely think it was a really good contest. The scoreline doesn't show it, but I feel like Spurs have shown in this game how much they have improved,
Yeah.
despite the fact that, like obviously the first two goals we conceded on set pieces. Like when you're missing your top two center backs,
Yeah.
you are going to be bad at set pieces. We were not great to begin with, but like obviously we're going to get worse without
Yeah.
like Hunt, you
I,
know.
you know, I didn't catch this game, so I took a quick look at the stats to see how it sort of played out. And when I looked at the stats, is exactly what stood out to me. How, like, if you look at the numbers, it was a very, very even game. Maybe eye test wise, maybe it was slightly different. I'm not sure, but the fact is also that Koga and Hunt are injured, and Hunt apparently is not going to be back for a while because she
Yeah, knee
knee
operation.
surgery. So, I mean, when you don't have your starting centre back pairing, the centre back pairing who's been sort of keeping you steady for the entire season, and I don't know. I mean, maybe I have a question for you on this front. Do you think, knowing that Hunt and Koga were going to be away, do you think Martin Ho could have tested a different centre back pairing slightly earlier, like in the sense of like after January, like plan for it a
I
little
think
better?
I think the plan was grab as many points before they
Hmm.
go. So you play your best team, get as many points because and build that difference because we and Everton have a decent point gap.
Yeah,
So if we lose a few games here and there, we can still like make up for it and claim that fifth position.
absolutely.
So that I think that was the plan. I will say this. I do not know whose bright idea it was to put Neildon in centre back.
Oh,
Like, you have Rybrink. I would have much preferred to see. I know Rybrink had a bad game against Everton, but I would have much preferred to see Rybrink. I would even have preferred to see Wick there. Like, Neildon is the least preferred of my defender
yeah,
candidates for centre back.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
Neilden
know?
is, I mean, Neilden has scored her fair share of own goals, right? And like, I feel like defensively, yeah, I mean, when I look at all the defensive options that Spurs have, I don't think of like Neilden as like the most capable when it comes to like her actual defensive capabilities, you know? 'Cause I do think
Yeah.
she's very good going forward and things like that,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
otherwise it's iffy.
Yeah, and
And
like I'll be honest, Martin Ho did get the first half tactics a little bit wrong. Like they played more expansively than they should have,
yeah,
and they compacted a little in the second half, and that suited them better against City.
yeah.
But in general, like I thought throughout the game, it wasn't like a bad effort, and the Olivia Holt goal was beautiful. I
Hmm.
love Olivia. I love Olivia Holt so much. Like
Yeah.
there is so much affection in my heart right now for Olivia Holt. But anyway, coming to City, I feel like I have not given them enough praise.
Hmm.
I have to say this Coffee Blinkilda Brown link up looks really smooth. And in defense, less so. Like Spurs were getting them on the transition a lot, but
Hmm.
going forward in attack, it looks absolutely sublime. And when Coffee goes forward, Blinkilda Brown will hold up, hold. up anchor behind. If Blinkilde Brown's going forward, Coffee would move back. Like it was the like understanding was already there, as if they've been playing for like ever.
Hmm.
And of course, Miedema just adds to that midfield.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, City are like benefiting from UE's absence because they're trying these different options, and they, so now they can rotate Yui and like give her some rest as well, because she just plays every game and it's really unfair.
Yeah. UE gets no rest, Japan or Manchester.
Yeah, yeah,
Ash,
yeah.
maybe we'll move on to Chelsea LCL versus Chelsea.
LCL versus Chelsea ended 1-1. Unfortunately, Chelsea dropping points again. Garner scored in the 22nd minute, and then Goodwin scored in the 82nd minute. I was watching the Spurs game when the commentator was like, LCL have equalized, and I was like, oh my god, Kai's going to be having such a bad day. How do you think it, what, like, is it just injuries? What is it?
Ah, no, it's. I mean, in this game, you can't blame injuries. I'm sorry. Maybe you can. I'm not really sure. I'm just. It's such a weird game because like it really was one of those games which just had like two halves where you couldn't like sort of even tell that same two teams were playing, and Chelsea were decent, maybe even good in the first half. Beginning of the second half was also okay. Should have put a couple of chances away, which I mean, it's been a bit of a theme, right, this season. Like Chelsea aren't able to take their chances, so um, yeah, I think the funny thing in this game, because you asked about injuries, I feel like when we talk about Chelsea going up against any team, like commentators are quick to talk about Chelsea's bench and the impact Chelsea's bench will have, etc., etc. And this game was exactly the opposite. Um, Chelsea's bench was so thin, but the players that LCL brought on, and you could see because even the goal comes from like substitutes being very very active. So yeah, I think the substitutions had like a really bad effect for Chelsea, not so much for London City Lionesses. I will give credit to LCL because I feel like from about minute 60 to when they scored their goal and until, yeah, I think maybe till 85 minutes they could have been 3-1 up, to be honest. Like Hannah Hampton makes a couple of brilliant saves, Erin Cuthbert makes a goal line clearance. It was so chaotic, and I'll come to the chaos. But I want to shout out a couple of players. Sangare, is a favorite of the channel. Ash loves Sangare, and I thought she had an exceptional game. Even like other players in the back line, Yana Fernandez looked really good. But the substitutions, Cascarino was an absolute pest. She's going to start for London City Lionesses very soon, I'm sure, once her fitness is back up. Isabel Goodwin also obviously gets the goal. Um, you know what? I think if I am a manager, right, this is exactly what I would do. I think they held on for as long as they could, and around 60 minutes, they bring on players when they know, like Meister knows that Chelsea can't bring players on. So the game plan,
Yeah.
I'm assuming, was to make sure to stay very, very tight, ensure Chelsea don't score, like, say, 2, 3 goals, limit them to one when they did eventually score, uh, and then hit them when they are weak. And I feel like that
Yeah.
if that was a plan, I thought that worked out really well for London City Lionesses. So overall, I thought it was a good outing for them. Maybe a couple of those chaotic moments towards the end, they could have seen it through. Like maybe they could have got all 3 points from this game. But
Yeah.
yeah, uh, coming to Chelsea, I will say, like when I think back to this game, I genuinely feel like it was 2 points that they just threw away. Seriously, there's
Yeah.
like no other way I can think of this. Ash, like listen to this, right? So Sonia Bompastor, so Aggie Weaver Jones goes down, and I'm convinced if Aggie doesn't go down, we probably win this game because the moment Aggie goes off, there's nobody to hold up the ball to relieve the pressure.
Yeah.
So there was just like 20 minutes of this onslaught from LCL that Chelsea had like no answers to. But
Yeah,
Fine, she got injured, she went off. That's just how football is. But this is what Bompastor did, right? She changed the entire backline. So the game
yeah,
started with Nuskin as at right. I mean, some of the choices are already funny. So you have Nuskin as at
yeah,
right back, Buchanan Burman as a centre back pairing, and Chloe Sarvi, 17 years old, had a great game. I thought she was phenomenal at left back, right? The game finished with Cuthbert at right back, Bronze Gurma as a centre back pairing, and Burman at left back. Was this really necessary? Like, was it necessary? Sometimes I feel like Bompastor needs to play the game that she has at hand, because, like,
yeah,
you see the team sheet, she's putting this team together with Tuesday's game in mind against Arsenal, which is fair. That's just how
yeah,
it is when you're playing midweek games. But, like, it's for me, Lauren James should have been subbed on the moment Aggie went off, because you just need
yeah,
somebody to hold up the ball. There's no other player like you. So basically, she took Nuskan off from right back and stuck her as a striker, right? And
yeah,
it and like from minute 60 to minute like 85, it was literally like watching school football, like, kids playing, chasing the ball. It was literally like every Chelsea,
yeah,
nobody knew what they were doing. It's
yeah,
chaotic mess, and I felt like, it's fair, you have pre-planned substitutions, I understand that, but sometimes you just need to play the game that's in front of you, because
yeah, yeah.
the
Also,
reality.
there is a danger of losing the Champions League spots. Arsenal are not that far behind you,
Yeah,
and Arsenal are very much in form. This is not the time to be dropping points. Like, if Chelsea, God forbid, like, don't win the Champions League, do you want to spend an entire season outside the
yeah,
Champions League? I mean, probably you'll win everything else, but is that important enough? Like, all these players that you've signed, they all have signed to play the Champions League.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing. Like, um you yeah, just threw away 2 points. It should have been, it should not have come to that. Like, London City Lionesses were nowhere in the game, and then you just let them into the game by making some of the substitutions that you did. And to
Yeah,
some extent, I would even say, like, underestimating your opponents. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, no matter how experienced your players are, like, I can see that she trusts Lucy Bronze a lot, she trusts Kira Walsh a lot. I honestly don't know why, but to each their own, I guess. But she has this faith, and she thinks she can just throw these players on the pitch, and their experience will get them over the line. But you can't do that. Like, you need to see, if you want to, like, bring the best out of your players, even the experienced ones, put them on the right place in the pitch. Like, it was very simple. Just put Lucy Bronze at right back, and I don't know, like, uh, stick to Burman as well as Gurma at centre back, right? And then, like, don't take Sarvi off. Like, like, Sarvi was having a good game, so
yeah,
I didn't personally think she needed to come off or switch to a back three. Like, you love doing that. So there were these options, and this is what she chose to do. Like, shuffle the entire backline. And yeah, I mean, maybe hindsight's 2020, but, like, honestly, she knows Cascarino. She knows Isabel Goodwin. Like, the kind of dangers these players actually pose, she's very familiar with that. And I felt like there was a bit of disrespect and underestimation of the opposition. I think that's what happened in this game.
yeah.
Okay, Ash, which one do you want to do? Arsenal West Ham or United Everton?
Let's do Arsenal West
Okay.
Ham. The other was a snooze fest.
Okay, so Arsenal West
I
Ham
mean,
5-0. Blacksenius, Russo, Kelly with a brace, and Beth Mead were the goal scorers. Apparently, one of those goals is also Chloe Kelly. She took home the match ball. I don't know which one that was, but tell us about this game.
so I'll be honest, like West Ham, I thought they had improved. They were on an improving run. I really like Guarino. I think she's a great manager. But this game, West Ham did nothing. And maybe it's just the Arsenal are that good. I do not know. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, and it wasn't like they'd already, by the time uh this one went down, what's her name, um nice Nystrom went down. By the time Nystrom went down, uh and like looked serious injury and all of that, and Zadorsky came on. Even before that, they had lost the 69th minute. They had already lost the game, so they
Yeah.
can't even blame like injuries.
Hmm.
And to be fair, Arsenal have a lot of injuries slash people out for the Asia Cup as well. But they were absolutely fantastic. Like there was nothing in the game that West Ham did. Like West Ham had a XG of 0.03. Like I don't really trust, I trust I test more than XG, but in this case they are the same. I swear West Ham just did nothing. They had one shot on target, and that was a tame thing in the starting of the game.
Right.
Like it was one of those, it goes directly to goalkeeper from far away
Hmm.
type situations. So like West Ham were abysmal, like they offered nothing. On the other hand, Arsenal have recently really been on a tear. Like they have really sort of like sorted their stuff out. West Ham should be grateful that Stina Blackstenius cannot score, because after her first goal she missed four shots from like three of those were like sitters. she,
Right.
and she missed them, and I'm just like, if Arsenal could have literally been like 7-0, uh I would not have been surprised. But the one like shout out, like takeaway I got from this game is Homburg. Oh my god, this is a 19-year-old, I
Yeah.
think. Like how, like the level of talent on this kid, just the ball that she put in for that Russo goal. What a fantastic ball into the box. And like Arsenal have a bunch of people who put the ball into the box well. Like
Yeah.
we will come to Chloe Kelly, Arsenal
Hmm.
fans, don't worry, we will appreciate the two-goal wonder, actually now three-goal
Hat trick
wonder, that
wonder.
is
Yeah.
Chloe
Yeah.
Kelly.
Yeah.
But similar Homburg, like that's the future. Like I'm so impressed. But coming to Chloe Kelly, I have always said the truth lies. Like I know there are a lot of non-Arsenal fans who don't rate Chloe Kelly, but always feel like the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Like if you have one thing you do well, and you do it well consistently, it's it's enough. Like nobody can stop you, even if they know you're coming. They can't stop you if you do that one thing well. And Chloe Kelly, the one thing she does really well is put the ball into the
Yeah.
box. Uh, to be fair, in this game, that was not what got her the goals. She had this wonderful strike from distance for that first goal. I think I was absolutely stellar. Like it's the best Chloe Kelly goal I've seen in the recent past. The most deserved Chloe Kelly goal. So I will say this game she was great.
Yeah.
Like she was her passing accuracy was absolutely fantastic. Her movement was great. She was in the wings, she came centrally, she was everywhere. So credit where credit is due. Chloe Kelly had a wonderful game.
Yeah.
My only question is, like this, West Ham also gave her a lot of space to run into. There are other teams that may not give her as much joy, and under pressure I feel like Chloe Kelly is a
Hmm.
different player.
Yeah.
Like not coming off the bench, I mean, like under pressure in the sense of being pressed for the ball.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's a good time for Arsenal as well. With Caitlin Ford not available for the Champions League game, it's a good time for Arsenal to have Chloe Kelly in form as well. I'm sure they're super excited about that. Ash, the next one, maybe United Everton.
Let's do Brighton versus Liverpool,
Oh,
maybe.
sure, yeah, let's do that.
The nil-nil.
Okay. Okay, so Brighton versus Liverpool. I kind of enjoyed this game because I felt like, I feel like I wasn't really maybe in the mood for football. So then I just watched
Yeah.
it and like nothing really happened. I was doing like 10 other things while watching this game. And so this was a perfect game to watch in that sense. But yeah, I think in this game, I just want to say a couple of things. One is big love for Kerry Holland. What a season she's having! I'm so pleased for her because, um, yeah, I think she's just looked a different player this season, coming off that left hand side for Liverpool. Once again, she had a really good game. I think she's had consistently a few good games, and I'm looking at her. I'm looking at Kerry Holland as like a potential team of the season option for that left hand side. Like I think,
Yeah.
um if she has even like two more good games out of the remaining four, I think, um I will push hard to have her on the team of the season. Uh, for Brighton, I think we've spoken about Caitlin Hayes a little bit, but what an underrated player! Like her aerial ability is just like absolutely unmatched. Even yesterday, I think she won like all five of her aerial duels. Um, I mean, crazy player when it comes to headers, and apparently Brighton have are yet to concede from a set piece this season. So yeah, I think just a
Wow. Cool
big
stat.
yeah. They said it in the comps. So I think Hayes is just, obviously she's not been a starter always because Minami and Rule have started. Then Vanegas has sort of come into the picture, but I feel like even when Minami is back from the Asian Cup, I wouldn't be surprised if Hayes sort of holds on to that spot because she's just an absolute beast in the air. Incredible.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, overall the quality of the game was not great. Like Brighton were really impatient. They already have like no, you know, their forward play is a bit mm, stale. Like you don't have like somebody with a flair of Kiko Seke who's just gonna make something happen out of nothing. Camacho, I think,
Yeah.
has picked up an injury, so Madison Haley played
Yeah.
up top.
I feel like I feel like the minute Seke left, Brighton have lost all hope of scoring. It's like you're, like dragging a dead horse along with you. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, and I felt like they could have scored. It's just some poor decision making in the final third. Like Kafaji kept shooting from distance. Fran Kirby kept
Yeah.
shouting at her. She's like, "Why are you shouting?" Like, I mean, that's my favorite thing to watch about Fran Kirby, when like people do stupid things in the final third.
Yeah.
You like rest assured that you will get yelled at by Fran Kirby. So everybody got an
Yeah.
earful from Fran Kirby. That happened. Falk had a good match. I think she had a couple of really good saves. Nadozi. I mean, the last few minutes of this game was so frantic, like in both
Yeah.
boxes. Um,
Yeah.
it was just like suddenly they realized, oh shit, it's minute 90. We should do something here.
Yeah.
And then like Silag is trying to do something on that end, and like Mpome is making like a last ditch tackle on this side. I don't remember, like I think Simons or somebody was trying to take a shot and it just went over the bar. It was just utter chaos. It was crazy. And yeah, but I think a draw was a fair result in the game. Some good players who, I think Mpome looked really sharp. Like she had really good defensive moments. It's a shame that she's almost never fit because I think there's a really good defender there. But yeah, I mean, that was this game. Not really. Maybe it was a snooze fest, but I felt like I needed it to be a snooze fest. You know. But speaking of, Ash, you said United Everton was a snooze fest, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Turland scored in the 38th minute. Gabaro in the 90th minute. I see why this was a snooze fest. And Mallard in the 94th minute.
Like apart from the extra time goal, like these two goals, I remember nothing about
Mm,
this game. Okay. Like I literally watched it half an hour ago. Like I don't remember it. It's just
yeah.
that big of a suspense. Uh, but like United, I feel like they have uh, uh, at least they have scored. They scored two goals. They found it difficult to score.
Right.
Turland scored that one goal, and before that, I think she scuffed like two shots. One that she almost scored. So, like, I do feel like there's something missing. I feel like the problem they're having is that Jess Park needs to be central. Like, you know. putting Turland behind Mallard and doing this. I don't know what this weird, uh, uh, like front two business. Skinner has been doing this the last couple of games, playing Jess Park out wide and all.
Hmm.
Like Turland is not a 10. Turland is a striker. And like putting Turland behind is not useful. I know she scored in this game, but like that's not the point. And like Jess Park, until like the 20th minute, I didn't even notice that Jess Park is playing. And a player of the caliber of Jess Park should not be invisible. You
Yeah.
have to find ways tactically to put her into the game, which is why like and you know like the player I thought that was brightest for United actually was Avujo.
Yeah.
And like I think Avujo should like start in this midfield. Like this midfield should be Olme, like Zigiotti as holding midfielder, Avujo and Park as 8 and 10s respectively. Like that is your midfield. I'm sorry, Skinner, no Narsend, no like I don't want to hear it. Like
Yeah.
whoever else is your midfield options, I don't want to hear it. This is your midfield.
This Lisa
Please
Nalson
continue.
thing is just hilarious because,
Yeah,
like, I have never rated Lisa Nalson as like a player. I just, she scores like 2 or 3 goals, and suddenly like Skinner is like, she couldn't like
yeah,
even get on the pitch at one point, and then she
yeah.
gets,
I mean,
and fair
she's
play
not.
to her.
Don't get me wrong, she was not bad in this game.
Yeah,
Like United
yeah,
won this game, they were generally all right. But like my point is that it was such a stodgy game to begin with. Like you scored a goal and it was 1-0 for like ever.
yeah.
And Everton, like there were points in this game where you thought Everton might equalize, and that should scare you as United
Hmm.
because the top three battle is really like tight there. And
Yeah,
so now that you're playing the Champions League, you don't want to lose that spot.
yeah,
And you have like that was the point of strengthening, right? That when everyone goes for the Asia Cup or whatever,
yeah.
like as long as Miyazawa is not dead, this is your front. Like it to me, it made like it's common sense. I do
Right.
not know why. Like he's almost lost 2 games because of this weird midfield selection that he's
Hmm.
doing, and it just I don't understand the logic of it. Anyway, coming to Everton, I have to talk about Kramchar. I think Kramchar on a yellow, by the way, for most of the game.
Hmm.
Zara Kramchar, what a exciting player. Like even in like the Spurs game, I
Hmm.
thought that she was like really important. And if you look, like she was literally everywhere. Like she was running on the left, she was running centrally, she was coming back to take the ball. Like she was just, like this is a forward that can literally play
Oh yeah,
anywhere in like as attacking midfielder, as forward, like very this thing, and 20 years of age. Okay,
yeah.
very promising. I can tell you that this is a player that's going to go places.
Hmm.
I would not be surprised if she does really well at Everton and someone comes and scalps her,
Right.
because this is like truly talented. You can see that there's a future talent here.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting. And I felt like she was the only outlet for Everton. Scott Phelan, credit to him, last 4 games on the bounce, Everton have won. The last game of that, Everton were good against Spurs. The previous 3, Everton were all right. What he basically did was organize them defensively, make them compact, put all the players in the positions they actually play, and said go from there.
Hmm.
And he's realized that quality will come to the top, rise to the top, and that's what's
Yeah.
happened with Momiki. With Kramchar, now he's elevated Kramchar, and I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah.
So I like in that sense absolutely fantastic, but in this game they really didn't offer that much.
Hmm.
Like United were coming at them, they were sort of defending, sometimes there was a counter. It was really like a weird midfield. Like they were pulling players down, doing tactical fouls, and so United were also like it was scuffy in the midfield.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't the most exciting game to watch in terms of like footballing ability.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But
Right.
and of course, like it's always harder to score against Courtney Brosnan. She's a cheat code. So I can imagine that United were also frustrated, and which is what was showing on the pitch.
Yeah.
But I think overall they did well to equalize. I think they defended these pretty well, and I think they would be sad that they conceded a goal of a set
Yeah,
piece after doing all that defensive work.
hard work, right?
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, it's a big relief for United as well. Like from like a top three perspective, they'd already dropped points midweek, and dropping
Yeah,
points here again when Chelsea have dropped points would have been yeah, would have been a bit silly ultimately. But they're a point ahead of Chelsea. Arsenal have two games in hand, so I think, yeah, I think like you said, Ash, Arsenal are going to sail to that second spot in my opinion with the
yeah,
games in hand. But for United and Chelsea, they really, it seems, need to battle it out.
yeah.
But as a Chelsea fan, I'm glad that like there's the Manchester derby that's coming up. I'm
I have a very tangential question.
hmm,
Don't hate on me.
yeah.
Arsenal still have to play City, okay? Uh,
No, they don't.
they don't.
They beat City.
Oh yeah, sorry. So then, okay, never mind.
Yeah,
I was just trying to count how many points, but there's too many. It's fine.
yeah. No, that's what I think. So, like from a Chelsea and United perspective, Chelsea is remaining four games. I mean, there's a 6 pointer there. United and Chelsea are
Yeah,
going to play the last game of the season. So there's that. But also before that, United are going to play Manchester City as well. So
yeah,
it's not a super easy run for United with the Champions League stuff that's happening. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, hey, I remain hopeful that Mark Skinner will do stupid things and we will get over the line. Uh, Ash, last
Okay,
game.
final game. Leicester versus Villa, 1-2 to Villa. Lehman scored in the 38th minute, Patton scored in the 47th minute, and Hansen is inevitable at the 84th
Of
minute. Um, Kai, some improvement there for like Villa because they drew one game, now they won one
Yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah. You know what? I think I feel like it's that Villa thing. We saw it last season as well, right? Like they
Yeah,
suddenly came alive in the run in, and they
yeah,
finished sixth out of nowhere. I feel like something similar is
yeah,
happening with Everton. Like 3 weeks
yeah,
ago they were in a relegation battle, and now they're like in the sixth place. So, uh,
yeah.
yeah, I think. I actually really enjoyed this game. I caught most of it live. I was in a train, so it was a bit patchy, but I enjoyed this game quite a bit because um, like Villa more or less were on top, but Leicester had really good attacking moments. I think they obviously the first goal that they score, I thought it was extremely well constructed. Like they had, it was basically a recycled ball from this really nice build up from the back, and I thought, it was nice to see Leicester sort of play like that. I know like this is not to put Leicester down at all because I know they have moments where they score goals from like nice build-ups. It's just the problem is they're just like not enough because they've not been scoring. So the fact that they scored and the fact that the goal was just so pleasing aesthetically, yeah, I was actually pretty excited for Leicester because suddenly I just felt like there was a spring in their step. They were defending well. Like the midfield battles, like players are putting their body on the line. But I think after they score that goal, I think maybe they created one other chance and that's it. So there were few attacking moments, but they were good attacking moments. Yeah, after that it was all Villa. Like Villa are like at halftime they're a goal down and Arroyo makes his change. I don't know why Miri Taylor was subbed out. Like I don't know if it's an injury thing. To me, it felt like a tactical thing because she goes to a 4-1-4-1 with like Jean Francois as like that holding midfielder, and then subs in Ebony Salmon for Miri Taylor. So clearly, it felt like a change that they wanted to make from like an attacking perspective because we know how good, like they can create a lot of chances between Hansen, Grant, and Salmon, who are extremely pacey players. We know that they can create a lot of good chances. Unfortunately, out of the three of them, only Hansen is a clinical forward, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, Hansen obviously scores the winner. For from like a Villa perspective, I think it is looking good because right now Villa, Everton, as well as London City are all on 20 points.
yeah,
Everton obviously in sixth because of their goal difference. followed by LCL, and then Villa. So it's very tight over there. And they have a few players who are coming back fit. Like Kendall is back, Salmon is also back, and I thought she had a really good game. I mean, that ball to Hansen. Obviously Hansen has a lot of work to do, but that ball to find Hansen was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, and OJF is now a regular. She settled into the team. She
Yeah.
looks really solid as a DM. And Nicewanger is also playing. I thought she also had a good game. So things are looking better for Villa. And they're doing all this without Rachel Daly. I know Daly is not the player maybe they've looked to in the recent past,
Yeah.
for like goals and things like that. But you know, even then, it's experience. She's an experienced player who
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not
But I
there.
do
So
think that maybe for Natalie Arroyo, Villa needs to build like a team like that, build for after Rachel Daly. Like
absolutely,
now I think it's time to do that.
yeah,
Uh, and
yeah.
Leicester, of course, missed Van Egmond, so I feel bad for them a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They did miss Emily Van Egmond for sure. Yeah, I think I'm a little worried for Leicester because in this game, right, I genuinely thought maybe they would hold on because they were
Yeah,
defending well. They were defending well,
yeah,
and um, it's hard, right? Because
yeah,
like on the counter, like every team looks dangerous, and it,
yeah, yeah,
it it
yeah.
really sucks for you when the counter attacking player is Kirsty Hansen.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, I'm not worried about Leicester so much because in that one-off playoff, whatever it's called, um, Leicester, I have full faith can stink up the place and like
Yeah.
get a janky goal and like win the playoff. I have full faith in Leicester's ability to get past the line.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we don't watch the championship enough to comment
Yeah.
on this, I feel. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, the experience that they have, because they do have a few older players in like Ash Neville. I mean, it was funny to watch lesser defenders chase Kirsty Hansen at one point. It was just like at one point it was just like lesser defenders like running after Kirsty Hansen. But yeah, they do have experienced players in like Ash Neville, Rachel Williams, even Alicia Lehman for that matter, who've sort of come in.
Retirement FC.
I mean, that's LCL. Maybe this is
Yeah.
poor retirement home. LCL is rich retirement home. Anyway, okay, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. Um, Again, a reminder, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. If you are subscribed, please hit the like button, share the video wherever you can, and obviously give us your thoughts on Game Week 18 in the comments below. Ash and I will catch you with a preview for the Champions League quarterfinals tomorrow. So we'll see you then. Bye bye.